Hey, what it do? Welcome to the Quarterly Report brought to you by the Red Knight Special, and this is Word on the Net. I'm your boy Nut, also known as Town Biz, and I'm not going to hold y'all this morning. But before we get off into the content, do me a favor. If you got out on the wrong side of the bed, get back in the bed, roll over, and get out on the other side of the bed. I'm going to wait. I ain't got no clock on, but that's enough time. Let's get to it. Anyway, before I drop this content, right, I want to give you a little backstory on it, right? You know, we all love our kids, right? We do anything for our kids to see them happy, to push them through life, to make them succeed at different aspects of their life, But in all reality, it's really up to the kid. If the kid want to make something or do something out their life, you feel me? We have a tragic story right here about a young woman and her son. Um, I ain't gonna get too deep off into it because I only like read the title and kind of glanced at like a few seconds at the beginning, so I'm gonna be watching it with you. You know what I'm saying? But from the title, it seemed like him and his mom must have had a strained relationship or some type of situation like that. You feel me? And with that being said, I guess he went to prison or something, was gone for a minute, then he came home and she was trying to rekindle that moment with him, thinking that they was gonna be able to rebuild their mama and son relationship type of situation. You feel me? Anyway, what we gonna do is we finna get to this content, right? And I'm not gonna hold y'all no longer, man. You feel me? But it goes crazy right here. You know what I'm saying? So, you know what I'm saying?
Now to the double murder in Wilson County. We're learning the suspect is charged with killing his own brother and his mother. Police identifying the victims as 50-year-old Dana Jenkins and her 15-year-old son, Darren Cox. Jenkins' 25-year-old son, Darion Jenkins, is now charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder. The victims were found inside a home yesterday evening on Snowden Drive.
Juanelia Carnegie lives next door to her cousin Dana Jenkins.
She was a very sweet person. Always smiled. I can see her smile right now. She always smiled.
Carnegie says that in the days leading up to the murders, she felt something was off with Darian.
You could see it. The look. It told you everything. But I had no idea that you was getting ready to do what you did.
My baby is home. Lord, I thank you. Those were the words Dana Jenkins typed on Facebook on March 25, 2025. Just 8 words, but they carried 3 years' worth of prayers, pain, and hope. A mother's joy, typed in all caps and exclamation points. She wasn't just celebrating her son's return from prison, she was reclaiming her family, rebuilding the future she thought she'd lost. But 6 days later, flashing red and blue lights lit up the quiet street of Snowden Drive in Wilson, North Carolina. Yellow tape twisted in the wind.
Man, I know I'm pausing it real soon before we get off to the content, but let's say a prayer for this lady and her family. You know what I mean? This is sad. We love our kids, and it's crazy for your kids to be the one to take you out. You know what I mean? So this is kind of sad right here. But anyway, let's get back to the content. Hit that like and subscribe button for your boy one time. Let's go.
Neighbors stood frozen on their porches, hands over their mouths, watching in horror as 2 body bags were wheeled out of Dana's home. One for her, one for her 15-year-old son, Darren. And the man responsible? The very son she had just welcomed back with open arms. She opened her door, and he took everything. This wasn't a robbery. It wasn't a random act of violence. This was a homecoming turned horror show. A mother's dream turned nightmare, and a community left shattered in the span of 6 days. What could make a man do that? What could make a son murder the very mother who had prayed for him, and the little brother who had looked up to him?
I could tell you like this, boy, it's a special place in hell for people who murder. That's why I be trying to tell people, man, you feel me? When you quit to grab a weapon and shoot at your family member, or try to kill one of your unalive, should I say, my bad, unalive one of your family members, You know what I'm saying? Unalive your mother, your father, things like that, man. You don't get no good luck in life. You going against the, and that's what's crazy. Everybody say they love God, right? But everybody going against the will of God. That's crazy.
What warning signs were missed? And how does a family go from "thank you, Lord" to "rest in peace" in under a week? This is the story of Dana Jenkins, her son Darren Cox, and the tragic cost of believing love can save someone who doesn't want to be saved. What happens when hope becomes a trap? And what do you do when the danger is already inside your home? Stay with me, because the answers begin long before the crime.
Right.
If you're into real true crime stories, stories that dig deep into the facts and the people behind them, go ahead and hit that like button.
And let me say this, right? This is crazy though, man. Like this woman lost her life for loving her own kids, man. See how your kids can be the death of you? It's just sad how things go down in the black community, and that's everywhere. But let's get back to it.
Trying to live a good life. Born and raised in Wilson, North Carolina, Dana was the kind of person whose presence made a room feel warmer. She worked full-time, stayed active in her church, and still somehow made time to check in on neighbors, offer rides, bring meals, and lend a listening ear to anyone who needed one. She didn't just talk about faith, she lived it, every single day. To those who knew her, Dana was grace in motion, a quiet force of kindness and strength. She was one of those people who remembered birthdays, asked about your mother, and meant it. There wasn't a mean bone in her body, just a deep belief in God, in people, and in second chances. She raised 2 sons, Darren and Darren, with everything she had. No matter how hard times got, and they did get hard, Dana never stopped trying. Never stopped loving. Never stopped believing. Her youngest, Darren, was her joy, her soft spot, her shadow, the one who made her laugh in the grocery store line, who'd stay late after church just to help her clean up. Their bond was special, pure, the kind of love that didn't need words. And even when her oldest son, Darren, drifted down a darker path, run-ins with the law, prison time, all the worry that comes with...
Man, look in that boy eye right there, man. Look in his eyes, man. Now, I don't know if this was a picture when he first got arrested because I don't know if it's a mug shot or what, but this man looks crazy. Like, you look at his eye and can see that he's mentally gone. He's mentally lost. Look at it. Imagine you going to go visiting him. You sitting across the visiting table room. You look at him in his eyes, telling him, I'm waiting for you to come home. And he just staring back at you like, mm-hmm. he got that. He got that. Mm-hmm. Kind of look to his face. You know what I mean? Like, just that you can't trust him.
With watching a child lose himself, Dana never gave up on him either. She prayed for him, wrote him letters, visited him behind bars. She truly believed that if she held on long enough, the boy she raised would come back to her. Because Dana Jenkins didn't see broken people. She saw people in need of grace. And she believed deep down that love could fix what the world had tried to ruin. But no amount of faith can predict what's waiting behind a closed door. And for Dana, that blind hope would become her greatest vulnerability. Because the very sons she loved with all her heart, the light and the shadow, were about to collide in a way that no one could have imagined.
It's sad.
If Dana Jenkins was the heart of her family, then Darren Cox was its joy. At just 15 years old, Darren was already someone people gravitated toward. Teachers described him as the kind of kid who lit up a classroom. Classmates said he was always smiling, always helping.
Why it seem like it's always the kids that everybody in the classroom love and all the teachers gravitate to because he has, he's so much charisma about himself, be the ones that be so mentally disturbed on the inside. Ain't that, you find that kind of weird? Like, come on.
Always making others feel seen. He wasn't loud or flashy. He didn't need to be. His presence alone was a comfort. At Bedingfield High School, he excelled academically. Honor roll, leadership potential, a quiet confidence that made you believe he'd go far in life. And at Mount Moriah Community Church, Darren didn't just attend, he gave back. He helped run the media team, volunteered at youth events, and played music during services. He was the kind of teenager who made adults say, "That boy was raised right." And he was. His relationship with Dana was more than just mother and son. It was a partnership. They laughed together, cooked together, prayed together. He was her rock as much.
So if they were so close, if they were so close, then what went wrong? You feel me? Like, me and my mama we wasn't, no, me and my mama, we were pretty close. I can talk to my mom, she rest in peace to my queen, man. But, me and my mom, we was close, but don't get me wrong, it was times where we had our ups and downs too, you feel me? But I ain't never came to the point where I said I'm finna unalive my mama, though. Come on, man, this dude is weird. You a weirdo, bro. For real, that's messed up, man.
Much as she was his. Friends often joked that they were best friends in disguise. There was no teenage rebellion, no resentment, just deep, abiding love.
Mental health is real, man. Check on your peoples.
When Dana talked about Darren, her entire face would light up. He was her purpose, her pride. She often said that no matter how hard life had gotten, Darren gave her a reason to keep going. In every photo you could see it, the way he leaned into her, the way she looked at him. They adored each other. And that's what makes what happened all the more cruel. Because Darren wasn't just a bystander in the tragedy that would unfold. He was caught in the storm between his mother's hope and his brother's rage, a future full of promise, silenced in an instant. And it all began the moment Darren Jenkins came home. It was a day Dana Jenkins had been counting down to for years. The day her oldest son, Darren Jenkins, was finally coming home. She had cleaned the house from top to bottom, cooked his favorite meal, and told everyone who would listen, "This is our second chance." When she picked him up,
That's crazy, because I remember coming home from Santa Rita one time, man. And we ended up walking. I don't know if y'all know about Santa Rita, man, but got out at this time. They were letting people out like 12 midnight. Got out, we had to walk up out of there, man. And we ended up catching a ride by this cat that knew my uncle. He slid us to the town to my mom's crib. Man, my mom cooked me a big old bucket of fried chicken, man. Man, I miss my mama, man. May my mom rest in peace. This right here really upsets me, man, and it's sad, man, because you would think that despite what you go through with your parents, man, like you're gonna have them ups and downs, but your parents. I wish my mama was still here right now, man. So it hurts me a little different, y'all. I apologize, but let's get back to it, man.
up from the correctional facility, she greeted him with open arms and tears in her eyes. To Dana, it was the answer to her prayers, the end of a painful chapter, the beginning of a fresh start. She truly believed that Darren had paid his debt, learned his lesson, and was ready to start over. But the man she brought home wasn't the boy she remembered. Darren Jenkins had spent the last 3 years behind bars for breaking and entering and larceny of firearms. He had a history of violent behavior that stretched back to his late teens. At 19, he was arrested for stealing from parked cars in a church lot. At 21, he broke into a neighbor's home and took 3 guns.
That was the first red flag. If you on a church parking lot breaking in cars, see, I don't know how old this brother is. I don't know when he was born. But I can tell you this, right? There's things that we grew up on that you didn't do, that you did. You weren't supposed to do none of it, but it's just certain things you just didn't do. And one thing we did all fear as youngsters growing up is, man, we fear God. We fear God because our families was Christians, you know what I'm saying? So we grew up, so you grew up like that, you know what I'm saying, based on what your family followed. But one thing you do is fear God. So if you finna go breaking some cars, you don't skip over the church house, I'm gonna say. But me, truth be told, I never was the kind of person that broke in cars, though. You feel me? It never was that. But anyway, let's get back to the content.
During his time in prison, he racked up multiple citations, fighting, threatening staff, and what officials referred to as malicious conduct. He'd been denied parole twice for his behavior. His release wasn't earned. It was automatic. A legal technicality, not a reward. But none of that mattered to Dana. She still believed, still hoped. When Darren arrived at the house on Snowden Drive, there was a handmade banner on the porch that read, "Welcome home." Balloons tied to the railing. Family gathered to celebrate. Photos from that day showed Dana beaming, standing beside her son with her arm around his waist. But look closer, and you'll see something else, something chilling. While everyone smiled, Darren stared blankly into the camera, his face expressionless, almost distant, cold. That unease wasn't just captured in photos, it was felt. Cousins, neighbors, friends. They all noticed it.
Yeah, for one thing, the man just got out of jail. And the thing about when you just got out of jail and you got a lot of anger built up in you, a lot of times you don't want to see or hang out with nobody. You want to go home and get comfortable with coming home. But I think it was more or less he might feel a little bit abandonment issues. Man, I don't know. I'm just, what I'm saying, I'm just alleging, what I'm saying? I'm just allegedly thinking, man, you know what I mean? Because I'm trying to understand how a man, because, how a man can kill unalive. I keep saying that word, but unalive his mama and his little brother. You feel me? Now, was that because of jealousy? Do you feel like your mama left you for dead or something, man? Excuse me, I apologize. Like I said, man, this topic is a little sensitive for me, man, because I'm the type of person to think about his mama all the time. You know what I mean? So let's get back to the content. Thank y'all for tuning in, man. Hit that like and subscribe button. Drop a comment in the comment section for me, please. Thank you.
Something was off. Off in his eyes, off in his posture, off in the way he moved. "You could see it," said Dana's cousin Juanita. "But look, I knew he was about to do something." Another relative later said, "He looked like a man just out of a war zone, or like someone still inside one." The celebration was real, but the danger was already inside the house. And in the days that followed, those red flags only grew louder. The homecoming that Dana Jenkins had prayed for quickly turned uneasy. In the days that followed Darren's return, something shifted in the atmosphere of that house on Snowden Drive. The joy began to feel strained. The warmth started to feel artificial. And those who were paying attention started to worry. It began subtly. Darren barely spoke. He paced the house at odd hours of the night, opening and closing doors, checking windows, mumbling things no one could quite understand. He'd stare out into the yard for long stretches, unmoving. Sometimes he'd freeze mid-conversation, his eyes going blank like he was somewhere else entirely. Then
I'm telling you, look at that boy's face. I keep telling you, if you look at, he don't look like he's there. He's the type of person I would have been like, man, are you sure you ready for the streets, brother? Like when he came home, I would have looked at him outside before he got in the car and be like, bro, you got a kind of like a little weird look to you. You sure you ready for this, man? This free roll? Because, you got to be ready for this, bro. Like something's wrong with this kid. Like for real, for real.
he'd snap back with a stiff, "I'm good," and walk away. He looked anxious, paranoid, unwell. A few family members described him as fidgety or like a bomb ticking down. One night, someone caught him just standing, still and silent, in the hallway outside a bedroom. Just watching. Just waiting. No one knew what he was thinking, but they all knew something wasn't right. Then
I hope that boy didn't get touched up in there, allegedly. I'm just saying, because sometimes, you feel me, people will get, essayed up in there, and they don't report it because they don't be wanting their family to know at home, and they just don't want to seem like a punk to people that know. You did what I'm saying? So, and that continue, you can look in a person's eyes and see that they lost. And for me looking at his eyes right here, this boy looked like he done been lost. It's crazy. I was having this conversation with someone before. I said, if you ever been to prison before, and them boys have been violated and took advantage of us, to look in their eyes where they never be the same again because of what happened to them. You dig what I'm saying? So anyway, man, this is crazy, man. So, wow. Rest in peace to the mom. Let's go.
Then came the injury.
Damn.
Darren showed up one morning with his hand wrapped in a makeshift bandage. When asked what happened, he offered no explanation, just shrugged it off. But the silence around that wound said more than words ever could. Still, no one confronted him. No one pushed, because they didn't want to hurt Dana. She was so happy to have him home, so hopeful, so convinced he was turning a new leaf. The last thing anyone wanted to do was pop that bubble.
A mother's love for their kids, man. That mother's love can get you unalive. We witnessing right now watching this. Let's go.
Not when she had waited so long for this reunion. So instead, they stayed quiet. Even after he asked Dana for $200 to get some things I need, she handed it over without hesitation. That's what mothers do, right? But police would later confirm that Darren used that money to buy bleach, duct tape, a hunting knife. The receipt was dated just days before the murders. People saw the signs. They felt them in their gut, but they bit their tongues out of love and loyalty. One cousin even admitted later, "I dreaded this day would come." You could see it in him. He wasn't right. But no one spoke up. No one stopped what was coming. Because Dana
Yeah, see, man, mental health, man, is real, y'all, man. When y'all see something, y'all need to go check on y'all people out there, man. Just when you got a cousin or a loved one or a brother or sister, somebody acting like weird that's not acting like themselves, man, go try to get some help for them, man. This is like I've been watching a lot of stories with people that's been unaliving their parents, man, and a lot of black kids too. A lot of black people. I didn't even believe it was. I ain't racist or nothing, but I didn't too much hear about black people that would unalive their parents. I know that there was a few out there, but it ain't something that you just hear on a regular, man. And now lately, it's like that's all you hearing, man. Like, wow, man, check on y'all people, man. Mental health is real.
believed in redemption, and the rest of them didn't want to be the ones to take that hope away from her. In the end, the silence was fatal. March 31st, 2025. It was a Monday, ordinary in every way until it wasn't. At 5:30 p.m., a call came into Wilson County Emergency Dispatch. The voice on the line was unclear, confused. The dispatcher couldn't quite determine the nature of the emergency, only that something was wrong. Deeply wrong. Officers were immediately dispatched to a home on Snowden Drive, the same quiet street where just 6 days earlier a welcome home banner had been fluttering on the porch. When police arrived, everything outside looked eerily normal. Dana's car was parked in the driveway. The porch light was glowing. There were no signs of forced entry, no shattered glass, no screams from inside, but the silence was heavy, and the door wouldn't open. What officers found when they finally entered that house would stay with them forever. Inside, 50-year-old Dana Jenkins and her 15-year-old son, Darren Cox, were found dead. Both had been stabbed repeatedly in what investigators would later describe as an act of extreme violence.
Right. I was just about to say that, like, wow, somebody is stabbing you up with, jabbing you and stabbing you with a knife. That's personal, man. That's why I said, like, what was the reason why this young man snapped? You did what I'm saying? Because for you to take a knife and your mother and your brother and unalive them, bro, with a knife over something was mentally wrong. Check on y'all peoples, man.
It wasn't clean. It wasn't impulsive. It was rage, contained and then unleashed with terrifying precision. Dana, the mother who had believed so fiercely in love and forgiveness, was reportedly found near the front of the house. Her body bore the brunt of the attack. Darren, her youngest child, her baby, was found further inside, as if he'd tried to run, as if he'd tried to escape. He didn't make it. The brutal nature of the killings shook even the most seasoned first responders. One officer later described the scene as something you only expect to see in war, not in a mother's living room. And then came the most haunting detail of all. Darren Jenkins, 25 years old, the very man Dana had brought home with open arms, was still at the scene. He didn't run, he didn't hide, he didn't resist. He was calm. When officers took him into custody, there was no struggle, no emotion, just quiet. Within hours, police announced that Darren had been charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder in the deaths of his mother and brother. He was taken to the Wilson County Jail, where he would remain without bond. Just 6 days earlier,
If that don't tell you something wrong with that boy for him to stay up in there and just be like, so I don't know what to say. That's wild.
Dana had thanked God for her son's return. Now the community was asking,
I'll bet she wish she could take that back right now. But who's to say though? Not saying that she wanted to get took out that way, but what if she made it to her her destination? What if she made it to where she went, where we all aiming to get to? You feel me? Like she was bleeding her son so much, and the love for her son was so strong that it ended up taking her life. Wow. Rest in peace, Gina Jenkins.
why God had allowed him to take her life.
Just released from prison last week, is now charged with killing his mother and younger brother after they were found dead in their Wilson County home on Monday.
Today, a family member who lives right next door is talking with WITN.
Yeah, Darian Jenkins is facing 2 counts of first-degree murder after police say he killed his mother and younger brother. They were found dead here in this home behind me. Now, the cousin of the mother is speaking to us, trying to figure out how this could have happened.
Always smiled. I can see her smiling right now. She always smiled.
That's how Wanilia Cornigi describes her cousin, Dana Jenkins. Now she is left shocked and hurt after learning Jenkins was found dead in her Wilson home alongside her 15-year-old son. The suspect in these horrific murders, Jenkins's older son.
I would have never thought that. I would have never thought he would do something like that. Not like this.
Police say on Monday they went to this home on Snowden Drive shortly before 5:30 p.m. and found the 50-year-old Dana Jenkins and a 15-year-old boy dead. According to Cornigi, the 15-year-old's name is Darren. Tuesday, police say they have the son of Dana and the older brother to Darren, Darian Jenkins, in custody for these deaths. Cornigi says that in the days leading up to the murders, she felt something was off with Darian.
You could see it. The look. It told you everything. But I had no idea that you was getting ready to do what you did.
Didn't I just tell y'all that look, man? Like you can look at somebody's eyes and tell something ain't right with them, man. You like, that's crazy, man. And she, like, when people around see, but you can't tell nobody nothing when it comes to their kids, and that's crazy. That's what's wrong too, because it take a village to raise a kid. But the people of today's society, you better not touch my kid. You better not say. And when the society looking down at your family and they letting your kid just a wild, out of control, live wire animal type of person, and you can't tell you nothing about be careful around your son because you're gonna take that personal.
And Darren's too. News of the double homicide spread through Wilson like wildfire. Shock turned to disbelief. Disbelief turned to grief. And grief gave way to a collective question that no one could answer. How could this happen? How could a home so full of faith, of joy, of reunion, become a crime scene? In under a week,
For one thing, the house wasn't full of that. He just came home, man. Their house was full of that, but once you let okay, he's considered, in my eyes, an outside entity. You dig what I'm saying? He's considered an outside entity because once you leave the house and you run in the streets is sort of, you making your mind up based on your circumstances of how you ripping and running in the streets. You dig what I'm saying? So once you go to prison, you under a different circumstance, different rules. Ain't no telling how he was living in there. That's what I'm saying. This hate for him to snap came from somewhere. And it's probably somewhere he couldn't control that's been building up for a long time. This is sad, man. Check on your peoples.
Dana's joy had become Wilson's nightmare. And behind every candlelight vigil, every tear, and every prayer loomed a deeper fear. If it could happen to someone like Dana Jenkins, it could happen to anyone. The murders of Danjarin Cox didn't just break a family, they broke a town. Word spread quickly in Wilson. A mother and her teenage son, gone. Not to a car crash, not to illness, but to violence, to betrayal, to something so unthinkable, people kept repeating it out loud, hoping it might make more sense. He killed his mama, and Darren too? The disbelief hung in the air like fog.
Right.
Neighbors gathered at the edge of the yellow tape, holding one another in silence. It was too much, too cruel, too close. At Mount Moriah Community Church, where both Dana and Darren had worshipped, the grief hit like a tidal wave. Bishop Sherman Blandon, who had prayed beside Dana for years and watched Darren grow into a kind, talented young man, opened the doors for an emergency prayer service the very next evening. The sanctuary filled within minutes. People came in numb, quiet, looking for answers, looking for comfort, looking for something to hold on to. But even the bishop, a man of unwavering faith, could barely find the words. Even as a man of faith, he told the congregation, his voice shaking, "I have questions." Some wept openly. Others sat in stunned silence, clutching photos, whispering prayers. Many had just seen Dana days earlier, smiling, joyful, full of hope. Now they were staring at her photo on a memorial table. The church's youth group gathered in a special session to honor Darren. The same kids he used to run lights and cameras with, now sitting in a circle, trying to understand why someone so good, so gentle, could be taken in such a brutal way. At Bedingfield High School, the impact was immediate. Darren's empty desk became a symbol of everything the school had lost. His teachers struggled to keep it together.
Well, I apologize for saying this, but boy, I tell you, man, if I was in his city at that time or in the jailhouse he was in or anything of that nature, and you came through there for something like that, most likely I would have got on you. You know what I mean? Because this is just, man, even when I was in prison, I used to miss my mom talking to my mama, man. You know what I mean? It's like, and I was way in the East Coast doing some of my prison bids. So, you know, this is just crazy for me, man. Glad I turned my life around. I did. Yeah. Yeah, Mom, I told you I was going to be better. You know what I'm saying?
His calls. Counselors were brought in to help students process what had happened.
This church is where Dana and Darren found comfort. Bishop Sherman Blandon says he knew them well.
It has been very difficult, confusing, troubling.
Carnegie remembers speaking to her cousin Sunday night and seeing police around the building the next day, telling her that two of her family members were now gone. The 25-year-old now faces 2 counts of first-degree murder, leaving Carnegie wondering how this could have happened.
Couldn't figure out why he did it and what for.
Online, messages poured in. Instagram posts filled with candle emojis. Photos of Dana and Darren. Quotes from scripture, condolences, rage, confusion. One post read, "You were the sweetest soul, Darren. You deserved the world. I hope heaven is brighter with you in it." Another simply said, "She loved that boy more than life itself." Now they're gone, together. On April 12th, just 12 days after the murders, Dana Jenkins and Darren Cox were laid to rest. The funeral was held at Ellen Forbes' OFWB Tabernacle. The pews were packed. Family, friends, teachers, neighbors, even strangers who'd heard the story and couldn't stay away. Pastor Damon Royal delivered a eulogy that focused on the love they left behind, rather than the horror of how they were taken.
I think she had a little closer relationship with her younger son, and I think homeboy resented that. You know what I mean? For some reason, man. Damn, brother, I wish you would have got some help before you took your mama life, bro. You ain't gonna never get no peace out behind this, bro.
The following day, their bodies were buried side by side at Rest Haven Cemetery. As the final prayer was spoken and flowers were gently placed on the fresh earth, one thing became painfully clear. This wasn't just a family in mourning. It was a community grieving the loss of 2 of its brightest lights. And as the town tried to heal, the question on everyone's mind began to shift. Not just how this could happen, but why. On April 1st, 2025, just one day after the murders, Darren Jenkins appeared in court for the first time. He didn't cry, he didn't speak, he didn't even look at the gallery, where devastated family members sat holding each other in disbelief. He just stared forward, blankly, like a man waiting for a train. Not like someone accused of murdering his own mother and teenage brother in cold blood. The courtroom was...
I don't know if y'all see what I see, but what I see is a man with a soulless. That's just a body. It seems like he ain't even got a soul in his body.
Heavy with silence. The kind of silence that follows a scream. The charges were read. 2 counts of first-degree murder. The judge ordered him held without bond. Prosecutors made it clear this wasn't going to be a case of temporary insanity. This wasn't going to be written
Nah,
off as a moment of madness. They believed it
nah, you can stop all that fronting. We ain't falling for that. Mm-mm. No, we ain't using that. We can see you definitely need some help, but we ain't falling for that one, bro. He need to be sent somewhere to do some time, man.
was planned,
Matter of
deliberate.
fact, he need to. Who am I to say what he need? But if I had the last, you know what I'm saying? If I had the last choice, shooting, sticking with some needles, executing.
Calculated. Assistant District Attorney Holly Rebel addressed the court, stating that the brutal nature of the crime, combined with Darren's criminal history, warranted the highest possible bail, though ultimately it would be denied altogether.
Jenkins is also accused of killing his 15-year-old brother, a Wilson County school student who is being remembered by Beddingfield High School and Mount Moriah Community Church in Wilson.
They loved each other. They loved us. We loved them, especially Darren. He meant the world to all of us. Our teens here, they're grieving heavily.
According to court documents, Jenkins was released from prison on March 25th on separate charges, just 1 week before the incident. Jenkins is facing 2 counts of first-degree murder as Wilson police investigate the circumstances surrounding the victims' deaths.
This is a tragedy, and honestly, there is no winner in this. And I'll be praying for everyone watching this, everyone affected by this and impacted by this.
Man, this is sad again. Like I said, man, sad situation. You know what I mean? Rest in peace to that young woman and that little young son. This is one of the things, man, where you gotta sit back and just look around you, man. Just really look at your kids, your cousins, your sisters. Make sure they straight mentally, not financially, because a lot of y'all don't care if your people taken care of financially anyway. So if you ain't gonna look out for them financially, at least look out for them mentally. Anyway, thank y'all for tuning in to the Quarter Report brought to you by the Red Night Special. This is Word on the Net. I'm your boy Town Biz, also known as Nut, you feel me? And hit that like and subscribe button, man, because it don't cost you $1 to hit that button. Come on, man, let's run this thing up like we run the track, man. Go ahead and hit them numbers up for me, all right? Let's get it.